Last weekend I was down there at old Gary's salvage yard, frying up some channel cat and drinking my fair share of PBR when old Gary was nice enough to share this story with me about his grandpa Alvin. Thanks, Gary. Well, as the story goes, Gary's grandpa Alvin was renowned throughout the county for three things. Number one, his blacksmithing. Number two, his crusty old bib overalls. And number three, most of all, for his horseshoe throwing ability and finesse. Old Alvin traveled the United States competing in horseshoe throwing and was known as Deadeye. He was even a member of the NHPA, the National Horseshoe Pitchers Association of America. Now, as the story goes, in 1976, the bicentennial National Horseshoe Competition was going to be held in Kansas City, only 2 hours south. Not only in conjunction with the National Barbecue Competition, but it was being held on the 4th of July. Now, this was the pinnacle of horseshoe pitching. All the great horseshoe pitchers were going to be competing, and this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for old Alvy. It was Alvin's big chance to join the National Horseshoe Hall of Fame. Now, Alvin had been practicing for months. He had put in hours and hours of practice. And in the winter months, he had even built an indoor horseshoe pit in his basement. When July finally came around, he was more than ready. He loaded up his old Chevy with all his horseshoe pitching equipment and headed for Kansas City, Missouri. Now, if you live down in this neck of the woods, you know that Nebraska has strict firework laws, and that if you want anything besides poppers and snakes, you gotta cross the border over to Missouri. So on his way down to Kansas City, old Alvy encountered a plethora of firework stands with giant inflatable Godzillas, gorillas, and wacky wavy Uncle Sam's. Being a God-fearing patriot he was, old Alvy pulled into the first firework stand across the Missouri. He was hypnotized. He couldn't help himself. He bought artillery shells, Roman candle multi-packs, 50 grosses of Texas bottle rockets, whistling cherry bombs, and to top it off, a jumbo pack of M80s. At this point, Alvin was euphoric, anticipating the horseshoe throwing competition and all the barbecue he could ever want. Later that night, when Alvin got to his hotel room in Kansas City, he could hardly sleep. The next morning, Alvin arrived at the fairgrounds 2 hours before the opening ceremony. He helped himself to a tasty pulled pork sandwich and registered for the horseshoe events. He was set to throw in the second round, but was in the first row of spectators directly behind the first round of horseshoe pitchers. At 9:59 a.m., July 4th, 1976, as the first throw of the 1976 bicentennial horseshoe competition was about to be thrown, Old Alvin lit off an entire jumbo pack of M80 firecrackers, delaying the 1976 Horseshoe competition an entire 4 hours.